Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you joining us today, I'm broadcasting from inside a jungle. Actually, no, it's an Asian money plant. And it's growing extensively, so hopefully that means good things. But a tradition like this is a wonderful thing. It's been going on for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and people still grow these very plants in the belief it's going to give them money. But when everything happens, we want to take a look at the root of the problems, because the root gives growth to all the vines, the leaves, the flowers, everything. We have to understand the root. And when we understand the root, we understand that a simple decision made today can have drastic consequences in thousands of years. Let me wind the clock back to about 60 BC or so. Pompey the Great, Caesar's sometimes friend, sometimes enemy, ultimately foe, Pompey was conducting conquests in the Middle East, and he overthrew the nation of Judea. Judea being, of course, what we know now as Israel. The Roman Empire held it for a couple hundred years, and they went through the rise and eventual entrenchment of the emperors. During that time, the Jewish people there who were, keep in mind, these were not the Jewish people of today, these were temple-based Israelites, which means their religion focused around the temple. We'll go to it right now. Since Hadrian, the emperor who's famous for building Hadrian's Wall in between England and Scotland, he had to deal with the Bar Kokhba revolt, which meant a lot of years and a lot of troops sacrificed, and he eventually decided to kick the Israelites out. He got rid of as many as he could. Now, why was Hadrian doing this? He was sick of rebellions. He was sick of it all. He just wanted it over and done with. And while he's portrayed as one of the good emperors, I would say he was one of the laziest emperors. He wasn't really a conqueror. He would go around, he would shore up places that he had been to. I'm not saying he wasn't a good emperor. I'm just saying he would go about for the laziest solution possible. And getting rid of the temple Jewish people from Israel and creating a new place called Palestine and the Palestinian people, well, Hadrian thought, job done. And indeed, it didn't bother him. Fast forward through years, the rise of Islam, the Crusades, the various wars back and forth, the fall of the Ottoman Empire. See, we just shot forward 2,000 years. Britain and France both managed to conquer Palestine, which was a territory of the Ottoman Empire, not a state unto itself, a territory. They then decided to decide what to do with this new land they had acquired. And it was a tumultuous land. The Israelites didn't want them there. The Palestinians didn't want them there because Jewish people had never really truly left the Holy Land. The Palestinian people were absolutely there. But there was a Jewish presence there, and they tried to figure out what they were going to do with the Jews in the rest of the world. Fast forward to World War II, and the question of what to do with the Jews to keep them safe becomes ever more pressing. So from Hadrian making his decision to get rid of the Jews 2,000 years ago to the 1950s, nearly 2,000 years worth of history went by. And Hadrian probably didn't give it much thought. He probably wasn't thinking, what's going to happen 1,950 years from now? No, wasn't his concern. His concern was, what do I need to do now? So the whole conflict between Israel and Palestine basically stems back to a couple decisions by emperors in Italy making up their minds. It wasn't as if the Israelites willingly left. The Palestinians from today were forcibly populated in there. They were told, this is your land, go live it. When the Islamic people came through, the Palestinians were forced to adopt Islam. So this whole conflict from A to Z was all started because one emperor decided he just didn't want to deal with another revolution. Forget it. Just get rid of the people. Send them beyond Rome. I don't care what happens. They're never going to come back. Well, he didn't get all of them. And indeed, they started coming back pretty much immediately. Then again, so did the Christians. They were very willing to go into the Holy Land. The Baha'i faith in the 19th century. Sorry, the 1800s, let me be specific. They set up their main office in the Holy Land. Jerusalem is the home of many faiths, and indeed, everybody wants to claim Jerusalem as part of their heritage. Probably even the Chinese, because it just has prestige. It's the holy city. It's the center of 3 continents. That has been its allure since almost the dawn of time. The very first war was recorded between Egypt and the Hittites over the Levant, the Holy Land, Israel. And that was 2,000 years before Jesus would be on the scene, before any of the events I've just described happened. People were fighting over the Holy Land for millennia before this recent conflict came up. They say that Islam is a peaceful religion, Judaism is a peaceful religion, Christianity is a peaceful religion, Baha'i is a peaceful religion. You name it is a peaceful religion. But it seems when it comes to the Holy Land, none of them can get anything right. My parents had been to the Holy Land. They'll tell you the tour guides are there and tell you, stay with us at all times, and there's armed guards that are ready to protect the tourists. Because apparently it's quite profitable to kidnap people and ransom them back. It's easily done, and in certain districts, they just don't have the control over everybody. So even in Jerusalem, there's still a pretty large organized criminal element. Some Jewish, some Christian, some Islamic, you name it, they're a mix of the bunch. All they know is that they get easy hostages. I think we've messed up. Israel, Palestine, the Levant, whatever you call it, was never the land of milk and honey. It was never the land of peace. If I had one simple directive to give, I would like to close Israel down. Close Palestine down. Close that whole area down. I would only let archaeologists in for 1 or 2 year passes to conduct digs and do all the things we want to know about the past. Hey, you know what? This is fantastic. Let's get it done. Let's put a UN panel together and start figuring out which universities get the rights to participate and how we're going to set up the schedule. All those people, yes, there are millions, there are tons of millions. They're going to have to go somewhere else. The industry, I'm not really worried about the industry. Companies are usually able to make a pretty decent profit even when they have to transfer from one location to another. Stalin did it in the early 1940s when the Germans invaded. And most companies are very easily able to relocate themselves in the present day because they just outsource or move their company headquarters, whatever it takes. I feel bad for the Israeli and Palestinian people that will lose their homes, but they are losing their homes. What kind of life is it where at any moment you can be rocketed, shelled, bombed, whatever, and it doesn't matter which side you're on? Whether you're on the Israeli side, whether you're on the Palestinian side, the fact is violence is taking place on both sides. And it has to stop. At this point, I think we should consider resolving the conflict by any means necessary. And unless you put up something like in Antarctica, we have an international treaty that says this land will remain forever neutral. Then you're simply not going to get that. Now the question becomes, what do you do with the Jews and the Palestinians? There are plenty of places that will accept them, but at the same token, they're going to be bitter for a little bit. And to bring them in as refugees is not ideal. At the same token, to have a chance to rebuild their lives and to live, in any other nation where they're not getting bombed all the time, that sounds like a much better thing than to hold on to a little bit of desert on the tip of an ocean and hoping what? That one day you're going to live longer than the other person? That's a sickening thing to say. We should be thinking about embracing each other and living in peace, not trying to think of how to kill each other better. And never is this more important than with your neighbors. Yeah, we all got shitty neighbors. But for most of us in the Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic world, we don't need to worry about them throwing rockets in our direction. Although some of you might out there, I never know with my audience. But that's my take. From thousands of years ago, a decision happened by an emperor who is simply too lazy to deal with the problem, but has given us a problem that has lasted, almost 70 years so far? And it shows, from everything it shows, it looks like it's going to be with us for another 70 years and maybe another 700 years. Maybe another 7,000. Let's see how long we can keep this human race thing going. But anyways, we wish to thank you for joining the Silverlight Show today. As always, like, share, subscribe. It is always welcomed. If you want to help support the show, please buy one of our books. They'll be linked in the description below. And we hope you have a wonderful day.